So a database is a collection of objects. That's the very definition of a database, regardless of the platform it's on. So these databases over here, under this instance, are simply objects. This, if you'll notice, is a Amazon cloud instance. And that doesn't matter at this point. Here is my on-premise or my local instance. These two databases, test, restore, and vices, are a collection of objects. All right, so that's what a database is. And that's pretty easy to grasp. But that's not what a database does. A database processes transactions. And it's core to fundamentally understanding relational databases. And in our case, it's core to understanding SQL Server. I'm amazed when I interview and I ask interviewees a very straightforward, simple question. And that question is, what do you use to watch transactions flow through the SQL engine? And often, very senior, what I would deem senior level resources, say I don't watch the transactions flow through the database, through the SQL Server engine. And in my mind, I'm thinking, then you don't understand SQL Server and you don't understand OLAP or online transaction processing at the very fundamental level. All right, so what do I mean? So we've got our databases here, and because I already have my cloud instance set up, we're going to use this. And what we're going to do is watch the transactions flow through SQL Server. All right. We're going to talk about this later. This is a tool. It's simply a tool by a gentleman named Adam Mechanic. Adam is a SQL Server expert out of Boston. He wrote this free tool, and I love it, and I use it to watch transactions flow through the SQL Server engine. And so should you. And we'll talk about where to get it later. But right now, I don't want you to be concerned with any of this because this is a beginning course. We'll talk about Management Studio, this interface. We'll talk about what this code means. We'll talk about the objects inside of here at a much more in-depth level. But right now, we're just going to watch transactions flow through SQL Server. These databases aren't doing anything. They're really just sitting there. All right, so now let's put them to work. And we're going to open up this tool. This tool is called SQL Server Load Generator. Again, don't worry about that now. Worry about the concept. The two concepts we're going to take from this lesson are a database is a collection of objects, and more importantly, SQL Server processes transactions. So let's do a start, and now let's capture the transactions. All right, so here we have a select. Again, a select just means select all from customer. Give me all the rows in the customer table. All right, so now we see that we can watch the transactions as they flow through SQL Server. And you're thinking, well, big deal. I mean, okay, so we can see them. How does that help us? All right, well, let's watch another example. So we have no transactions flowing through the engine, right? This tool is a snapshot of the transactions as they flow through SQL Server. We're going to turn our load generator tool on again. We're going to watch these. All right, we can see we've got a select, very much like the last time. And this time, we're going to create an explicit transaction. And an explicit transaction simply means I am creating the boundaries of this transaction. And we'll get into all that later. All right, now that we've opened our transaction and didn't close it, what do we see? Well, we see we have 3 transactions open, and we have some blockers now. And what are the blockers waiting on? They're waiting on this. And you can see this session, and you can see the blocking session. All right? That blocking session belongs to this guy, and he's updating the customer table. We can't insert any values into this table until he's done. So we have to come back and commit this transaction for the update to be done, even though we're finished doing the update on this side. So we've got to commit it. And now that it's committed, we'll talk about what commit is later, we are back to the normal flow of transactions. So how does that help you understand SQL Server? It helps you understand SQL Server because there's no other way you could have troubleshot that mistake that this developer made by leaving the transaction open without understanding and without being able to watch transactions as they flow through SQL Server.